Welcome back to this edition of Grizzlies Daily. I'm your host, Malik. And real quick before we get into things, I want to just shout out Underdog Fantasy for sponsoring this video. Later on in the video, we will talk about how it works and what you can gain from it. So once again, just want to shout out Underdog Fantasy for sponsoring the video. Now let's get into the nitty gritty. There are a lot of injuries in this game. Well, yeah, a lot of injuries in this game. A lot of players are out on both sides, not even just us. We'll start with OKC just to give y'all an idea. They have 7 players out for this game. Shea is out, Hardenstein is out, Chet is out, Thomas Sorber is out, Nikola Topic, he's always been out because I think he was actually dealing with cancer, if I'm not mistaken. Cason Wallace and Jalen Williams, not the good one. Well, let me not say not the good one. Not the one that we know about. He's out, the center. And then Alex Caruso is questionable. Best case scenario for the Grizzlies, you kind of hope Alex Caruso doesn't play because if he does, then you're dealing with a situation where you're going to be dealing with a lot of fouls. So, yeah, not fun. And then obviously for the Grizzlies, the usual injuries. Oddly enough, though, Ja Morant is out. Like, not even questionable. Just straight up out. Conchar is doubtful. Cedric Coward, on the other hand, is questionable, and Vince Williams Jr. is questionable as well. Good to hear that Cedric Coward is questionable. Lets us know that the ankle sprain actually isn't as bad as we thought. So very good right there because I can't lie. Part of me was worried that he was going to be out for like 2 weeks. So good to hear that Cedric Coward is going to be okay and could potentially play today. I think this is a good chance for him to get back into the groove of things with a game like this, especially against a team that, regardless of injuries, they can still provide a good challenge with the young guys that they have. So, yeah, that's a good look at this game. Obviously, with this game, gotta guard the perimeter. Good thing is you do have an advantage in the front court. With Chet and Hardenstein being out, I look for Jaren and Jock Landale to really feast in this game and really just show their potential. Well, not necessarily potential, but show the talent that, like, hey, we can hold our own against a, slightly, pretty good team, even with the players being out. Obviously, in this game, 3-point shooting on both sides of the ball. With a game like this, you got guys who need to guard the perimeter, regardless of players being out. This OKC team is a very good offensive team and very good defensively. So you really have to watch out for that. Really got to limit the turnovers. That's always been a problem against OKC. Cannot come out flat in either of the halves, first and second. Got to come out blazing. I look in this game. I think this would be a good bounce back game for Cam Spencer to really, get back into the groove of, being a good shooter. Well, the shooter that we know because he did struggle last game. And then hopefully this is a chance for Jalen Wells to really find his stride and Santi Aldama to be better off the bench this time. So hopefully we see those things happening. Now, real quick, I mentioned Ja being out. This lets me know that calf strain, it's more serious than we thought. And something tells me we could be looking at Ja being out for like 2 more weeks. I just got to be honest. Something tells me because this is the first time this year he's dealt with a calf injury, and something tells me this injury is more serious than we think it is. And even with more players in the case, I don't really know what to say about this one. I can't lie. He was questionable the last 3 games, then ruled out at the game, and then something happened in this one, and they just straight up was like, "Hey, you're not playing." So I don't know the thought process behind that. Good news though, obviously Conchar being back. You got an extra person in the rotation to really, kind of give guys a breather, and you get some good impact defensively and with rebounding with Conchar, so I'll give credit with that. And like I said, Cedric Coward being back, potentially being back for this game, very good sign to hear, and I can't wait to see what they decide. Hopefully he does play because I really do think this is a game where he can pop off against, a depleted Thunder team. As far as other players go, once again, no update on Edie and Jerome or Scottie Pippen Jr. Like I told y'all, they're probably going to push it into the weekend. Don't really know the thought process behind it, but the Grizzlies love doing that, waiting until the weekend to give us injury updates because we are officially past the reevaluation period, so we should have heard an update by now. But like I said, they're probably gonna wait till the weekend, so I wouldn't be surprised Saturday or before Sunday's game we get an update regarding that from either Islo or the medical staff. It's another day in Grizzlies territory. What can I say? But on a positive note, fast breaks are back with Underdog. My bad. Let me get that right. Fast breaks, buzzer beaters, and block parties are back, and Underdog is the best place to get it on all the action. Playing Underdog is actually very easy. You just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like points, rebounds, steals, blocks, and much more. You get your picks right, and you could win up to 5,000 times the cash that you put up. This week on Underdog, and specifically today, I'm looking at two players in particular. Diddy Avdia against the Rockets. I got him going higher than 26.5 points. Diddy Avdia has played like an all-star this year, and something tells me that he's going to play good once again because I don't see why he doesn't. Next player that I'm looking at, I want to say I'm looking at the Lakers versus the Bucks. Luka Doncic. Come on, the Don. He's a guy that's been hitting 30 points consistently lately. So I got him easily higher, 34.5. I can see him going for easily 40 in this game. So that's my picks right there. Download the Underdog app today and use promo code BasketballFan to score $75 in bonus entries when you play your first $5. That's promo code BasketballFan. Underdog is a place where you make picks and you win money. So make sure to download the app today. And speaking of Underdog, I want to talk briefly about the Grizzlies side of things on Underdog. Obviously, Jaren Jackson Jr., I've had criticism of him, but I do think him highly for this game. Over his last 5 games, obviously against the Suns on Wednesday, 19 points, 4 rebounds, 1 assist. Then you look at the Spurs game, much better performance, 21 points, 9 rebounds, 2 assists. Against the Lakers, that second game struggled, 14 points, 3 rebounds, 1 assist. But that one on Friday, much better, 25 points, 2 assists, 1 rebound, and then against Philly, one of his better games, 15 points, 12 rebounds, and 3 assists. So with that in mind, I do want to talk about Jaren and the potential that I have for him in this game specifically as far as his projections in the game against the Thunder. So right here, I have Jaren going higher than 20.5 points because, let's be real, this is an OKC team that is depleted. And I think as long as he stays out of foul trouble for the most part, he could easily hit this in the first half. We know Jaren can be a player that can pop off whenever he's on the court. It's just a matter of whether you decide to do with that. So with his other stats in mind, I'd say go for the points because let's just be honest, his line for points, rebounds, and assists is 29.5. If you look at the previous games, that 29.5 mark, he's only hit it maybe, I'm looking at it right now, 2 times out of the last 5 games. So if you do bet that, I would say be cautious with it on higher or lower. Me personally, I would probably go higher just for the fact that I think he gets majority of that from points. The problem is, depending on the game, Jaren might not rebound and he might not dish the ball. So be very careful with that. With that in mind, I think in a game like this, I have Jaren going lower than 6.5 rebounds. So if you decide on that one, I would say do that. 2.5 assists. One thing about Jaren, I've thought highly of him when it comes to assists, and I've been proven wrong. I mean, even in the past 5 games, Jaren is yet to get above 3 assists. So it's a very risky projection. So I would say go lower than 2.5 assists. And then if you vote on other things, like if you want to decide on entries for other things like 1.5 3-pointers made, I say easily, because one thing about Jaren, he's going to shoot that ball. He's going to shoot the ball. I got him easily hitting 2 threes, so I'd say go for that if you decide to do that. And as far as other things, like I said, Jaren Jackson Jr. is a guy who I think can be aggressive in the first quarter. So I'd say that first half, aim for what you expect from him, because one thing about Jaren, that second half input doesn't really show as much. So be very cautious on what you decide. Now, if you do decide to make these entries on these projections, make sure once again to download Underdog. That's promo code BasketballFan. You do get 5 You get $75 in bonus entries when you deposit $5. So make sure to take advantage of that. Once again, that's promo code Basketball Fan on Underdog Fantasy. So make sure to take advantage of that. And once again, thank you to Underdog for sponsoring this video. Now let's talk about Sunday's game against the Nets. Let's be honest, the Nets, another lottery team, but they're one of those teams that can really sneak up on you. And what I mean by that is they may not have the greatest talent, but one thing about it, they do have some scores. One of them being Michael Porter Jr., who we have talked about on this channel before. MPJ, what can I really say about him? He's going to shoot that ball. He's going to shoot that ball, so be very mindful of that. This is a guy that's averaging 26 points per game, so he's going to shoot the ball. He's going to shoot the rock. The one thing about this team that really throws me off, though, they don't really move the ball that well. I mean, Nick Claxton is their leading assister with 4 assists a game. So I would say, well, partially due to Michael Porter Jr. I mean, everybody knows the possession ends with Michael Porter Jr. So I would say watch out for him. Obviously, Cam Thomas, who is essentially riding on this team. I don't even know if he's going to play, but there's a good possibility he might. I don't know. This is a team that can rebound slightly well, mostly because you do have the effect of Nick Claxton. But I think as far as this game goes, I think the Grizzlies beat them in every category. As long as you beat them in the points category and you slow down the turnovers and you're hitting your shots, because this is a team, like I said, not really that good at all. I mean, even in, this is a team that hits about 14 threes a game, obviously because of the Michael Porter Jr. effect. I think as long as your perimeter defense is intact, you slow down with the fouls, don't really let them get to the free throw line, and you slow down with the turnovers. This should really be an easy win for the Grizz. And by easy, I mean just getting the win. I don't mean that they're going to, blow them out or anything. As much as I would love that, I don't think it's going to happen. But, hey, all we can do is wait and see. But I do got the Grizzlies in the homestand on a positive note before they head on the road and then over to Berlin, where we see them play Desmond Bane for the first time since the trade overseas. Simple as that. Now, I do want to touch on a few comments before we get out of here, because I did see some things. Obviously, we touched on the potential of Ja not being on the Grizzlies, especially due to the Trae Young trade and all those things. So I do want to get y'all thoughts on that. Seeing one comment right here, it says, I think that the Grizzlies should make a move in the offseason for AJ DeBanso or Cameron Boozer to add to the young aspect of our semi-rebuild, while also parting ways with Ja Morant. The only thing about this is, and this is just me thinking, genuinely speaking, I think if you're gonna go younger, just go ahead and end the championship window. That's just me being honest. Unless one of these guys pops off as a potential number 1 scorer, I don't see the point in going younger again. This is a loaded draft class, but it's just a matter of, do the Grizzlies want to advance or do they want to stay where they're at? Because right now it's looking like they just stand where they're at. This is a down year. Like I said, if this team gets to 30 losses before the end of the month, I do not see this team making a run for the play-in unless they go on a dramatic win streak, which is not looking good because you're dealing with all these injuries. Next comment says, I'm one who hates the trade talk around Ja, but every time he gets injured, I go over to the dark side for a minute. He's clutch and a great closer, but the reality is he doesn't play much to even showcase those talents. And that is my point right there. And I'm glad this comment was said, because I was literally saying this before I even started recording. We gotta let the past go. We all know what Ja Morant is capable of doing. There is no surprise about that. We know that he is a prolific scorer, prolific playmaker, and one of the more athletic guards in the league, if not the most athletic. The problem is he cannot stay on the court. And just being honest, yes, he's one of the biggest superstars we've ever had on this team, homegrown and everything. The problem is, are we content with having a star build around him just for him to not even play more than 60 games? That's just the reality we got to face. And I think a lot of people need to understand that it's not, I'm never saying, oh, we need to get rid of Ja because he's bad or it's a talent thing. It's never a talent thing with Ja. It's more of, is he gonna be available? Like, that's just the fact of the matter. I feel like we do this with any other player, any other superstar. This isn't even a conversation. And that's why I feel like we need to come to a mutual agreement when it comes to Ja Morant. If he does get moved on, it's not a he was done dirty kind of thing. It's a, hey, it's just not working. Simple as that. It peaked. That's just how I feel right now. I can't lie. That's just really how I feel. Next comment says, I thought we were locked for a playing team. We are waiting for the coaching staff to develop. I'm saying it first. Ja and Jaren have disappointed me this year. Pick any issue, it doesn't matter. The Hawks are moving on because they weren't going to pay Young over $50 million. That's not the Grizzlies. They plan on paying Ja. I don't believe it'll happen, but I wish Memphis would move off the 2 picks for veteran players that could push us into the playoffs. Before I read the rest of this comment, I have no disagreements with anything so far, and that was my point with the picks, and especially Phoenix being better than we thought. If these picks aren't going to be that good to where you can get a top talent from the draft, go after a established veteran. I truly feel that way right now. If you want to win now, go after a veteran. Simple as that. The rest of the comment says the 2 players who make sense are Porter Jr. and Trey Murphy. Memphis and the Nets have beef of past blown trades. The Pelicans are reluctant to trade within the division. And Kleiman is all in on rookies. I like Wells, but I doubt he will ever be an all-star. His defense is solid, but doesn't change games. Him coming off the bench and finding another center that can play defense is what would separate Memphis from the play impact. I don't know why more people are not talking about the Grizzlies' killer Cam Spencer problem. 2 players are weeks or days from coming in and reducing his minutes. Pippen Jr. or Ty Jerome. Yeah, and that's the unfortunate reality. I said this before the season even started. Cam Spencer has potential to be a key piece on this team. The problem is, where can you fit him in the rotation? And that's the tough part about it. Going back further, that's something I have to really realize. I have to remember when it comes to trades regarding the Grizzlies. It's not that Kleiman isn't trying. That is one thing that's one notion that I got wrong well before I started even doing content. Zach Kleiman is trying. Teams are just reluctant to trade with the Grizzlies for some reason. I don't know if y'all remember back, like, I think 2 years ago before OG Anunoby was traded to the Knicks. The Grizzlies were trying to get him at the deadline. The problem was Toronto was being very, very difficult. And we offered a very good package for OG. I think arguably better than what, the Knicks offered for him. But they just didn't want to trade with the Grizzlies. So it's not that Kleiman isn't trying. It's just teams don't want to make that deal. And that's the unfortunate part. Next comment says, that's a good trade idea, Murphy and Herb Jones, but not for Ja. I'm okay to do it for picks, though. Another trade ideas with the Jazz. I don't think we need Keontae George, and I don't think we are going to trade for him. But I like to fit a Larry Marketing. He would give us a scoring boost we need. He isn't a great defender, but he is a way better version of Santi Aldama. We could trade him for 2/3 of Wells, G.G. Jackson, and Santi Aldama, plus the Suns pick swap. I'm a fan of the idea. Even if it's not for Ja, I'd say go for it because, look, if that's all they asking for, that's a deal the Pelicans. I don't even think it even matters with the division because right now, I think the Pelicans are in a position where they want to start fresh. I think they're planning to move on from Zion anyway, so that's on its own right now, right there. As far as Larry Marketing, I've always been a big fan of him. Some people haven't, but I've been a big fan of him. Even if he's not the biggest defender, he's definitely he's a better like you said, a better version of Santi Aldama, and I feel like that's it right there. Now, like I said, when it comes down to the contract, that's gonna be something tough because Larry been playing good, and he's gonna want his money. Now, granted, that's if he's willing to take a cut, but it's tough out here. Want to find one more good comment. I'll read this one right here and then we'll be done. Well, actually, no, I'll read 2 more. This one says, honestly, if we can get around 70% of rotation healthy, we'll be okay. I also think some of you are putting too much on Edie right now. He's only played 11 games, and in those games, we faced 4 winning teams and lost all of them. That tells me that it isn't just an Edie issue. We need at least 70% of the rotation healthy to truly compete against teams that are 500 or better. I mean, yeah, that's true right there. There's no surprise on that one. Absolutely. the thing is, the team defensively plays better with Edey on the court. Offensively, he can't really control that. Edey's not really the biggest offensive weapon, but defensively, that's where the Grizzlies really struggle at. And I say that because if you really look at a lot of these games that become close with the Grizzlies and they end up losing, a lot of their points come from fast pace or fast break offense or simply just finding the right shot. You get that with Zach Edey on the court. Problem is, Zach Edey's hurt right now. And it's been proven that, the Grizzlies win better with him. So losing team or not, Zach Edey is a key piece to this. Next part of this comment says that Trey would actually be a good move. Trey isn't a true first option, but defensively this team could look a lot like OKC. I can realistically see a starting lineup of Pippen, Murphy, Coward, Jaren, and Edey winning a championship. It would have a 2004 Detroit Pistons type identity, defense, toughness, and balance. I'd also be willing to throw in a pick or two plus GG for Fears to land a solid backup point guard or a potential future starter. I gotta be honest, I don't really see the point in trading for Jeremiah Fears, and plus, New Orleans is very big on him right now, so I don't see that even happening. And then not to mention, you still got, Ty Jerome, so I don't really see the big thing with that. But look, if that was a potential starting lineup, I wouldn't be mad at it. You got a fairly big lineup, good defenders to build on. You can be very flexible with Trey Murphy. You can play him at the 3, 2, 4, so I'd say, look, if that was a potential lineup, I wouldn't be mad at it. And then I'll read the last one right here. This one says, why are we just speaking on Ja's availability when nobody's available? Why aren't we speaking about the training staff? I could understand if Ja's the only one hurt, but the Grizz have had the longest list of injuries. I don't know if I don't know if you ain't been tapped into the last few episodes, but we definitely been talking about the training staff, and we definitely been talking about other players being hurt. So I don't really know what to say about that one. We just saw what a few ex-Grizzlies do when they get the chance to come back to play us. LaRavia looked like an all-star. Dylan goes hard every time he plays us, and even Grayson Allen shot 50% from 3. What do you think Ja's going to do when he comes back here? I'm a fan that wants only Ja, and that's it. The only thing with that is, if we play Ja, that's 2 to 4 games, and we don't even know if he's going to play in them. That's just the reality. I'm not worried about that because we don't even know if he's going to be playing. Simple. Get rid of this bum coach, fire the entire training staff, and fully invest in who is here. Also, on the last subject you spoke about, the reason why Vince Williams didn't play is because it was a back-to-back and he just came off an injury. Seems to be a standard in the NBA. Looks like the training staff is trying to get something right. Who knows? Yeah, that could be the case. I mean, he's questionable today, so maybe they did want to give him a rest and go from there. As far as starting fresh, look, that's up to them. I'm just a fan. I'm just an analyst. I don't really know what to say about that. But that's going to wrap up this edition of Grizzlies Daily. I know this one was pretty long, but I really appreciate y'all for tuning in the entire way. If you watched up to this point, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and turn on post notifications so you get notified when the next video comes out, where Monday we'll recap this homestand and look forward to the next games happening next week. My name is Melek, and I really appreciate y'all for tuning in. I will see y'all on Monday. Peace.